Welcome, friends, it's the Movie Film Podcast. Movie Film Podcast, enjoy the show. Zach and Sean and Ryan are talking about movies. Movie Film Podcast on the radio.
Welcome to Movie Film. This is episode 74, brought to you by Mr. Boyd Productions. My name is Zaki Hassan, and joining me, as always, is my good friend Brian Hall.
Hey, what's going on, Zeki?
Not much. Now, last time we promised that we were going to be back in 3 weeks, but we're back in 2.
Surprise!
Yeah, this is what we do. We drop. We can't help but meet up and do this show.
Just want to give and give.
We're givers. We're givers. That's what it comes down to. We just have too much news. Now, this is a little bit of inside baseball, but between episodes, Brian and I, we have a Google Doc that we jot down potential topics to discuss on the show, so that when it comes
dreams. It's where we share our dreams.
It's a dream journal / scratch pad for the show. And so I realized as I was looking at our list of topics, I was like, this is just too much. This is too much. We have too much gold to give. Verbal gold is what I call it. That was the original title for this show, by the way. Verbal gold. Yeah. So we just have too much of that to give, so I realized that we should, what the hell, let's meet up this week, and then we'll meet up next week. We'll talk about Ant-Man. That sounds like a good idea, right?
Sounds good to me.
So last week was the 30th anniversary of Back to the Future, Brian.
I'm not familiar with it.
Well, it's a film about a future that needs to get back to at some point.
It's only, I think, you and I's favorite movie collectively. So
I think if we just cut together all the times we've talked about Back to the Future and all the episodes we've done of this show, we could probably get like 3 further episodes.
Yeah, probably.
I think, right? How many times have you seen it in the theaters?
In the theaters? Ugh.
Yeah.
Well, I saw it back in '85, so that's one. But then, I've seen it in Los Angeles when they've replayed it. I mean, at least 3 times, maybe 4 times.
I saw it once with you 5 years ago.
Yep, that was right. Yeah, on its 25th anniversary.
It was the 25th. That's right. This is a passage of time in the anniversaries that Back to the Future has.
Yep. And this is like the golden year, too, 2015, 30th anniversary. Of course, 2015 ties into Back to the Future, too, but we are blessed now because they're just having countless events and sorts of exciting things going on for the series this year. So that's been kind of fun. Like recently, there's like the traveling tour where they have the live orchestra scoring the film as you watch it, which they did in the Hollywood Bowl here about a week or 2 ago. Yeah,
well, they had it in the Bay Area here yesterday, and I was not there.
Oh.
I was not able to go. I was
gotta periscope it.
I know. I know. This is depressing. However, it has become kind of a tradition that every year around this time I watch the trilogy with my boys. They love it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really interesting because I was realizing that for them it's like Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Back to the Future, and those are just and Jurassic Park, of course. But these are films that are decades old, but for them just feel current.
Yeah, well, I was going to say probably the list would go the same for me. So that's really interesting that your kids, generation removed, same list.
It's the same, and by the way, speaking of that, you purchased a hoverboard recently.
I did. Yeah, it was the dumbest / awesomest thing I bought in a long time.
So it's a piece of plastic that you paid $50 for, basically, right?
A little less, but close enough for the same response from the people shaking their heads.
Yeah. So does it actually hover?
In my imagination, it does, and that is close enough.
All right. Well, I'm proud of you.
No, when I walk into my bedroom and I see it propped up against my dresser, just seeing that thing there in the corner of my eye and the all the feelings that it conjures up is absolutely worth its weight there.
Well, you're summing up what a lot of people feel about those films, and I think they do hold a very special place. And 30 years later, that's what people are thinking about. I read an interview with Robert Zemeckis a week or so ago where he talked about how there will never be a remake or a sequel of Back to the Future as long as he's alive, and if he has anything to do with it after he's gone. And I think, we've talked a lot about how, sometimes it's okay to just let a story be done. And that's how I feel with Back to the Future. It's 3 wonderful movies with a beginning, middle, end. The story's done. I'm perfectly okay with that. And these are magical, amazing films that I think will continue to be amazing for a long time.
Agreed.
But to help us talk about the importance of these films, we're very honored to be joined by Cassine Gaines, and he's an author, director, educator, and a pop culture historian. Now, he's written a couple books. He wrote Inside Pee-wee's Playhouse, which is the untold, unauthorized, and unpredictable story of a pop phenomenon. He's also written A Christmas Story, behind the scenes of a holiday classic. And his current book, which is in stores right now, is We Don't Need Roads, the making of the Back to the Future trilogy, which is, of course, timed perfectly to coincide with the 30th anniversary of the film. So Cassine, thank you so much for joining us. We're very excited to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
So, Back to the Future, you heard us talking. It's important to us. I think everyone has a Back to the Future story. So tell us your Back to the Future story.
Sure. So I saw Back to the Future for the first time on home video, actually. So I'm so jealous that you guys got to see it in theaters. I've seen it in theaters since, of course, but I was probably 5 or 6 years old, and I was sent home sick from school. And my aunt came to pick me up and took me back over her house, and she had just purchased the trilogy box set on VHS, and it came with The Secrets of the Back to the Future trilogy, which Kirk Cameron hosted, actually.
I remember that.
And Peyton Reed, you guys were talking about Ant-Man a couple minutes ago. Peyton Reed actually directed that behind-the-scenes special.
Wow, no kidding.
Yeah, he did a lot of work on like Back to the Future, behind-the-scenes stuff. And so I watched this first movie, and actually before I even saw the movie, I remember looking at the VHS sleeve and just being mesmerized by that artwork with Michael J. Fox and the DeLorean and the fire between his legs, and just me trying to figure out, like, what's this movie even about? It just looked like something I hadn't seen before, and it was absolutely magical to me. I mean, like, being a kid and seeing this car disappear through time, and, you know, the lightning strike the clock tower, and then watching part 2 with the hoverboards, the future, and, you know, thinking that maybe 2015 would actually look like that, you know, and the train. It was just, all of those things were so impactful to me as a kid, and I completely forgot about being sick and couldn't wait to get to school the next day and just tell everyone about these Back to the Future movies. And of course, a bunch of my friends were like, yeah, we know, we saw it already. But we just had so much fun, like literally running around the playground and playing Back to the Future. It was just a lot of fun.
That's amazing. I mean, it's that you're summing up the experience of so many of us when these movies came out, and I think it says something about the fact that attitude of kids wanting to play in this universe has continued to this day.
Yeah, no, it's, you know, I remember very distinctly our playground at my elementary school was plastic, and it had this, you know, a steering wheel. I don't know why these playgrounds are built with steering wheels, but you know what I'm talking about. And so, so I, you know, of course, we would drive this thing to 88 miles an hour, and we would run and go like, oh, look, now there's dinosaurs all over, and we would, you know, pretend to see. Again, it sounds so silly now, but we were really serious about playing.
Yeah, you were creating the Universal ride there.
Yeah, we didn't even know at the time, right? But we were.
Now for the book, first of all, how did it come into your head? Hey, I want to do the definitive history of this franchise.
Well, for me, I'm a behind-the-scenes junkie. I watch special features and commentary, and one of the things that sort of frustrates me as a fan is when all of this information exists, but it's all in different places. And so one thing that I just wanted to do was sort of bring all of these behind-the-scenes stories under one roof. But then as I started speaking with people, what I found was sort of more interesting was adding a human element to these stories. So the best example that I can give is most Back to the Future fans know that Eric Stoltz started out as Marty McFly before Michael J. Fox was brought on board. But I was actually much more interested not just in saying Eric Stoltz shot for 6 weeks and then was fired and then they got Michael J. Fox, but instead, what was it like for someone like Leah Thompson, who had worked with Eric Stoltz before? She actually got her part in Back to the Future because of Eric Stoltz, and then he's fired from this project. What was it like for Eric Stoltz on a skateboard or playing Johnny B. Good, or what was it like for the crew to have to meet Michael J. Fox and they've been shooting for 6 weeks with someone else. Did they think the project was going to be dead on arrival? Did they shoot everything over? Did they just, cherry pick moments? So all of those questions I realized actually hadn't been answered in 30 years. And so I felt like I could do a little bit of work to elaborate on these stories. If you're a Back to the Future junkie, is everything in this book going to be new information for you? Of course not. But I think that there's a lot more depth to these stories that you'll get. And if you're a Back to the Future junkie like me and you guys are, then I think that's worthwhile for you.
Yeah, I got to say that's actually where this is actually a surprise to me that we're even talking to you right now, because I just found out like a day or two ago, and it's kind of a thrill actually, because I read the excerpt that was on Vulture a couple days ago, and like you said, like, I mean, Zachy and I are the types of people, like, we are familiar with probably most of these stories. And so, but I still can't get enough. I want more stories, and because I enjoy hearing about them. And so when I read your excerpt, it like you just said, like, it told a story I had heard with a whole new context, and and not just a gifted author just finding new descriptive words to say it, but like actually talking to the people who were on the ground as those things were happening. And I was really taken with that piece that I read, and I immediately sought out the book and it spoke with Zachy, and Zachy's like, oh yeah, I read it. I was like, oh, what? I didn't even know about this. And I've started it. I'm about a quarter of the way in, and I have to say, yeah, for people who aren't familiar with a lot of these stories, I think they're going to be they're very fascinating stories, just about the film, that you already love, but also filmmaking in general. But for people who are familiar, with Back to the Future lore, I mean, there's a lot in here, just contextualized from so many facets of the production. I mean, notwithstanding Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale and all those people, but a lot of the crew members and how they felt about a lot of the things that were happening, and I've been really taken with it. Like I said, I've been reading it or listening to it, actually, the audiobook, in all my free time. So I wholeheartedly endorse it. I think people are going to love it.
No, thank you. I appreciate, and that's, to me, that's the value in the forum of like a book like this, and I understand completely why Universal on a special feature has Steven Spielberg and Bob Gale and Robert Zemeckis and Leah and Chris and Michael, having them talk, but there are hundreds of people that work on a film. So, some of the stories that I think are most interesting don't come from Robert Zemeckis or Bob Gale, in the book, I mean. And actually, for me, I think one of the added things, too, is that when I speak with Robert Zemeckis or I speak with Bob Gale, and I just have to say, because I say this whenever I remember when I speak with people, Bob Gale was such an asset for this book. I can't even... It was amazing just to, like, speak with him because I'm such a fan of these movies. But then... I must have asked him a million questions. I mean, if I asked him one, I asked him a million, and he just answered all of them. And I'm just so thankful. The book is so much better for him being so forthcoming and patient with me. But besides that, I just think that so many great stories come from the camera crew, come from, some of the more, the supporting cast, or people even like Melora Hardin, who was cast for the film as Jennifer and then was fired before she even filmed anything. I mean, I think that story is like a really interesting story, and a lot of these stories were sort of glossed over in the supplemental features, but in the book you have the time to sort of expand out, and this book could have been double the length, honestly, because there are so many stories to tell, but the other part is trying to really focus it on the Bobs, as I call them in the book, Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale, because really the Back to the Future story is their story, and their story about how they really scored their first hit and navigated the waters to sort of continue on in Hollywood and continue stoking the flames of this franchise.
Can I ask, in the experience of making... Oh, sorry. What's that?
I was saying that was a really long answer, and I don't even know...
No. No, I was just curious, like, in the experience of making the book, because a lot of people, I'm totally suggesting people read this book, but then since we have you, if I could ask you, can you tell a story about making the book that you found, particularly thrilling or out of body sort of experience, or something you never expected?
Yeah, that's a fun question. Yeah, I guess the thing that immediately like pops into my mind is so I get a phone call from Huey Lewis. I knew that he was calling. That's the
awesome.
we're all set up and ready to go, and my phone rings, and he goes, "Is this Cassine?" And I go, "Yes." And he goes, "This is Huey Lewis. I'm looking at my itinerary, and it says your name." And then pop culture historian. And brother, if you can make money as a pop culture historian, you are living the American dream.
Oh man.
That was the beginning of my introduction to Huey Lewis, actually. And so that's sort of like one story. I love Leah Thompson. I'm a big fan of Leah Thompson, just from just watching everything that she was in.
Mm-hmm.
And I also enjoy her performance in the Howard the Duck film that I don't know if anyone else enjoys. And so for me, I think probably like the greatest moment of working on this book was being able to speak with Leah Thompson not only about Back to the Future, but then spending 10 minutes or so talking about Howard the Duck and being able
Totally.
to, not for anything but just conversation. And that was a pretty cool moment. She was completely down for talking about it.
Your next book.
Well, I don't know if there's a market for books on failed Hollywood films, but maybe. I don't know. Maybe.
Well, Howard the Duck has a place of importance. It's the very first Marvel movie.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, and it's an amazing story. It's George Lucas being involved and producing that film. It's it's an interesting thing. It's an interesting thing.
I feel like there's something that needs to happen with that, as far as like even if it's a behind the scenes warts and all documentary.
Well, let me tell you, there's a really good if you're into Howard the Duck, me, just the three of us, and no one.
I love the comics. I'm not as much a fan of the movie. I love the comics though.
But if you with Howard the Duck the film, the special features on that DVD are actually really good because everyone has they basically approach it from the position of this is why we thought this movie was going to be great, and this is why we believe it wasn't. And so it's sort of a deprecating set of special features, but it's nice because there's really no way to do special features for that film without acknowledging that it was a failure.
Huh.
I picture them cutting to Tim Robbins, and it's just him with his head in his hands, just kind of.
He is noticeably absent from the
Well, now, getting back to the purpose of this conversation, you mentioned some of the people you talked to. I mean, can you give us a list of just the sheer volume of people associated with these movies that you got to chat with?
Yeah, it's hard to sort of. Robert Zemeckis, Bob Gale, Christopher Lloyd, Leah Thompson, Huey Lewis, as I said. I spoke with the other producer, Neil Canton. I spoke with Frank Marshall, who's a producer, Steve Starkey, who's a producer, costume designer, Joanna Johnson, and a gentleman by the name of John Bell, who is really important to the Back to the Future sequels, especially Part 2, because John Bell is almost single-handedly responsible for the look of the future. Actually, he is the person that designed the hoverboards. He did a lot of work with Joanna Johnson on the look of the costumes and sort of the functional aspects of the costumes. So things like the self-drying jacket, like things like that. I spoke with people literally from every single facet of production, the animators, the special effects people, visual effects people, both writers, Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale. And so all in all, there were about maybe 65, 70 people that I spoke with.
Wow.
And the other thing that was sort of cool was that I spoke with a couple of people that were not directly involved in the making of the films, but people like Leonard Maltin, who celebrated film critic and was reviewing these films back in the 80s and was sort of as an outsider getting inside information through Hollywood channels on like how production was going, and he believed wholeheartedly that Back to the Future was going to be a doomed movie.
Wow.
When they fired Eric Stoltz, he expected it to be a disaster on screen, when he saw it. And he said a lot of people in the industry believed that to be the case because they knew that Back to the Future was way over budget, way over schedule, fired the lead actor. And so they were going, there's no way this movie's going to be good. So having sort of insight from those folks as well, I guess the book is sort of like in layers. It's like them making the film, and then I sort of expand out a little bit and look at the studio and sort of the culture's reaction to them making the film at the time, and then also projecting out and looking at like 30 years later what our perception is on their decisions and what it was like for them making the film then.
Yeah, I find that always to be the most interesting thing with behind the scenes, especially on successful films, where it's it turns out well. Mm-hmm. So it's always really interesting hearing the stories of all the odds stacked against everyone and all the impossible decisions. And like if they had just, I still think of it with the Stoltz thing. I mean, it comes up a lot, but just like, what if Zemeckis hadn't had the balls to speak up, and be like, I feel like something's not working,
Yeah,
But,
and I think the thing that I think is amazing, it still is amazing to me after having spoken to him, and it has never been done before or since that someone has a lead actor that shoots that much of the film and then they fire him. That it's completely unprecedented. It's never happened. Mm-hmm. And at the stage in his career, no one ever would have faulted Robert Zemeckis for saying, the film isn't working out the way that I wanted, but this is the guy we picked, and we're going to forge ahead, with Eric. It's amazing to me. And I've spoken, like I said, with the people that I've listed about this, and have said to them, if you were making a film today and you had an actor that wasn't working out, do you think that you would make that decision? And everyone, including Zemeckis, said to me, no. Actually, we probably wouldn't. We were so young and so naive that we just thought, sure, we can do it. We'll just start all over. And now we know it doesn't work like that. It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But we didn't know any better because we were so green,
Right.
And I think that's so. It's the single most important factor in why we are talking about Back to the Future right now. Yep. Not just the fact that they had the balls to fire Eric Stoltz, but also it's such a testament to the conviction they all had that this movie could be excellent, that they had a great idea and a great script and a great team. And you know what? One member of the team wasn't working out, and we care more about the project than we care about any single member of this team, and so we're going to find a better team member to help the collective, and I think that that's really what the Back to the Future films were about behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. I mean, that's I know we're running out of time with you, so I mean that's a great way to sort of sum up the magic of these films. What, just as a closing thought, what do you, in your mind, having now spent so much time in the trenches, not just as a fan but as a pop culture historian, what do you chalk up the enduring appeal of this franchise to?
I think it's a couple things. I think number one, Back to the Future starts out with such a simple and creative idea. The idea that you can take this teenager and send him back to the past and meet his parents as teenagers, and he has to set them up to, otherwise it threatens his own existence. I mean, that's just, it's like $1 million idea. Well, it's $1 billion idea, really. But, it's just an amazingly creative idea. Number two, I think the movies are really well done. As a franchise, number three, I think, again, it would have been so simple for Bob Zemeckis and Bob Gale to say the first movie did really, really well, and we're going to just like cash in on the sequels. But 2 and 3 are both completely different films. They're ambitious films. They're films that round out the story, and so they weren't lazy. They took that same energy and enthusiasm as they put into the first film and put it into the sequels as well, which you don't see all the time in Hollywood. I mean, you see it with like Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight films. You see it in a couple of very special franchises, but not. It's so easy to not do that. You did not see that with like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films, right? The Sam Raimi films.
Yeah.
And I think the last thing is this idea of time travel, which is just so universal. There isn't a person that doesn't wish that they could go back and change something about at least one moment in their life. And the fact that we get to sort of live out this fantasy wish fulfillment through Marty and Doc, through all these different iterations, and all these different experiences that they get to have really over the course of, 6 days? 7 days.
Right.
Is really something that I think everyone can so easily relate to.
Well, that's awesome. And of course, the book is We Don't Need Roads, The Making of the Back to the Future Trilogy, and it's available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, everywhere books are sold, and of course the audiobook, which I'm currently listening to, I highly recommend. Kasim, where can people find you online?
You can find me online at KasimGaines.com. That's CASEENGAINES.com. And I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Kasim Gaines, and Facebook, Facebook.com/Kasim Gaines also.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully you can come talk to us when you have your next book to promote.
Thank you. To be continued.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks, Kasim. Have a good night.
Thanks. Take care.
Take care.
All right. Well, Brian.
Hey, that was a blast. I am not blowing smoke here. I'm enjoying the heck out of that book. So that was really cool to get to talk to him.
Yeah, and we're really grateful that he was able to come and spare a few minutes with us.
Yeah.
So, Brian, we got lots of headlines to discuss. We don't have a Wall movie, but the world of Hollywood news keeps pumping along.
This is gabbing with the guys tonight.
There you go.
We got some Hollywood gab to gab about.
We got some gabbing to gab up. That didn't work as well as I would have liked.
No.
That being said, before we talk about headlines, I did want to share a couple interviews that I was able to do. Now opening in a couple days is Judd Apatow's latest film, Trainwreck. This is written by and starring Amy Schumer. It also has Bill Hader in it and LeBron James, comedic genius LeBron James, who's actually quite good in it. And it also features Colin Quinn, Dave Attell, Mike Birbiglia, Vanessa Bayer. And a few weeks ago, as part of the Trainwreck comedy tour, where they're essentially touring the country, showing the film and also doing stand-up, I had a chance to talk to Judd Apatow, Amy Schumer, Colin Quinn, Dave Attell, Mike Birbiglia, and Vanessa Bayer.
Damn, bro. That's quite a lineup.
Yeah, so we got to talk about the film, which is about Amy Schumer playing a train wreck, in essence. So we got to talk about the film. We also got to talk about a lot of other stuff. So let's go ahead and play some of my highlights from my many chats with all of those comedic geniuses.
Amy, in terms of transitioning from sketch comedy to writing a dramedy that's feature length, what was the transition like for you?
Well, I had to get final draft once I already had a TV show. So writing in general for me is, I don't feel like, I've been doing this sketch writing for so long. And I don't even think of it as writing sketch, because I've never taken a sketch writing class or anything like that. So I think of them as writing little scenes with, some sort of stakes in it, and what you're, and actually playing them like that too. So the movie was just to play one character. It was kind of just relaxing to perform it, and then to write it, it was a challenge. But the tools that I got from writing the scenes on my show made me feel less overwhelmed by that.
So Judd, in terms of your, you godfather a lot of projects, you help produce and whatnot, but you're choosier in terms of directing. Mm-hmm. What is the process by which you decide this is a project that I want to spend X amount of years on as a director?
Yeah, I never know. Sometimes I have an idea about something I want to write, and sometimes I don't. It takes a while to write, and I get just as excited working with people on their ideas. I mean, that line is really blurred for me. I just like a great idea and people to collaborate with. So there's nothing, there's nothing important to me about being the writer or the director. I always look at these projects as building teams and trying to figure out who would work together and what would make this idea work. And so when people have scripts, most of the time I can think of someone who can do it better than me. And I think, David Gordon Green, that's a kind of a weird, awesome choice for Pineapple Express. He usually doesn't do things like this, but he's really funny. But with this one, we were in such sync that it just felt like, I know we can do this really well.
Yeah.
But it's totally random. It's just in any moment what you're getting most excited about.
So, Colin, my question for you was, in terms of finding this character and making him feel funny but tragic, how did you find that middle ground of making us care when he passes away?
Well, I visited a father a few times. So father is in a wheelchair. He does have MS, and he was a wild man back in the day. So his name is Gordon too. So I kind of I was just trying to think of him when I was doing it, trying to keep it obviously it's me, but it's a lot of him in there. So I was just trying to keep I was trying to be like an actor and be all right, I'm just gonna keep honest, just say how I would really say it, but thinking of him in me, you know what I mean? It was kind of so that was basically it. So, hopefully being funny, either you're funny or you're not, you know what I mean? There's no way for me to, if I try to be funny, I'm not funny. But I became a comedian because when I was trying to be serious, people would laugh in your face a lot, So then you become a comedian.
I'm going to give him props because he's really basing his character off a real thing, like a real person, So I think that's way harder than what I did. I mean, I played this street person, which is non-existent. I know in San Francisco.
To be fair, there are many of those.
Well, in San Francisco, I believe you guys call it performance artist or house flipper. Not done yet.
Burning Man,
fire juggler, I believe.
Well, speaking of funny people in the movie, I didn't even realize that was Tilda Swinton until the credits at the end.
Yeah.
She just disappeared into that character. It was amazing.
Totally.
You can't recognize her if she has a tan.
Yeah.
That's what we
What is
noticed.
that, pigment? That can't be her.
Amy, in terms of your basing the script on your own life experiences to an extent, what did you discover about yourself as you were working on this film?
That I was broken.
Okay.
I realized that I was not okay while I was writing it, and that my sister had been really sweet and was letting me pretend, and she was pretending like I was okay, and that I had trouble accepting love, believing that I was someone who was lovable and deserving of love. So that's what I learned.
Just that.
just a little thing like that,
Yeah.
And the cool thing about Amy is that she is a real comic, but she also can I guess you could say, if she has to, she can do the serious acting. She can do all these different things. So it's such a rarity in comedy. Everybody thinks that they can do a sitcom in movies, but there's few people who could really do it and do it effortlessly, and that would be her. And I mean, God bless. It's so great to be involved and know something like that.
Well, I mean, I think this film really toes that line between comedy and drama really masterfully, and I mean that for me, as I was watching it, I found myself wait, is this a screwball comedy? No, it's a drama. And so in terms of your performances, that's what I appreciated, as I mentioned, especially for you, Colin, because there was a richness to the character where that moment at the funeral, I got it.
Right.
When she has everyone raise their hands.
Yeah, it was really. I think the way Judd shot it, the way he shot shooting it on film or something, just added some texture to it that was kind of brought it to you're oh my God, it's a serious. Something about it was more serious than a rom-com.
The cool thing about this movie is that it really is Amy's movie, and we're here to support her. And to be honest, I'd do anything. It's always cool when you get to be in it's always cool when you get to work with people who you know are funny, and now when you're just at the point where everybody else is going to know they're that good, it's exciting. So I would say that, I'm here, I'm stepping up. This is, I'm bottom rocking it. You know what I'm saying? I'm in. So whatever we can do for this movie, Judd and Amy, I'm in. So that's cool.
Colin, I'd like to go back to your SNL days, if I may. I was when your very first time when you did Weekend Update and you did your hey, I'm the new bartender. That was aimed at me because I was one of those people. I was like, how did they get rid of Norm Macdonald?
Yeah.
But of course, I was like 14 or 15.
Yeah.
And of course, I came to love you in that role, and I was disappointed when you eventually moved on. But what that's sort of that seat is viewed as kind of a pinnacle of comedy in some ways. What did you learn from that you've carried forward?
Well, because of the Norm thing, I never felt comfortable there, and it was kind of like a weird time for me. Except the highlight was that first goddamn speech, and then after that, it was just a weird vibe. And I'm not a one-liner. It's not a rhythm for me. So I learned that when Dennis Miller first did it, the reason is because he did it in his style, and I'd have to go back and watch it, which I don't have time. But whatever you do is, I learned you got to bring your own style to it, and I should have brought whatever my style was. But I got off on a weird foot with that, So for me, it's definitely a format that's not for me. I'll let you keep talking, as you're going to find out unless I stop talking right now.
Vanessa, my question for you was, what did you find creatively different for you from obviously SNL, which is just, it's crunch time.
Right. Well, we got to at SNL you sort of get to improvise when you're writing sketches and stuff. You're like throwing out ideas and stuff. But once things are written, we sometimes change. Things obviously change a lot from rehearsal to air, like depending on if you have to cut for time or whatever. So in that way we're improvising a lot. But in this movie we really got to improvise off of what was written down a lot. Whereas now I feel like you're gonna have to edit this a lot because I'm saying it in such a confusing way. But once you have a sketch on SNL and you're doing it for air, if you improvised, it would throw off the entire, all of the cameramen, all of the people in the control booth, everyone's going off the same cue cards and words and stuff. So if you decided you just wanted to throw something out there, everyone would be you're fired, basically. But it would screw up the whole thing. Whereas with Trainwreck, we were able to we would do the script kind of as is, and then we would get to kind of improvise off of it and stuff. And so it's a different thing. Also, it's a different thing. There's something really cool and exciting about SNL being live and having just a few days to write stuff and rehearse it and stuff. But then there's also something that's so great about a movie like this where you actually get to kind of take your time and really I was gonna say craft a scene, but I feel kind of gross saying craft. But you go
craft.
Yeah.
You're crafty.
Create a scene.
Bake a scene.
Yeah. To its full. Yeah.
Sculpt a scene.
I just think actors do well when they know they have time. So if you say to somebody, "We're really rushed,"
the sun's going down. Hurry up.
I'm Clint Eastwood. You've got one take. I think that's when people get stiff and nervous, especially in comedy, because you're trying to say to them, "I need 3 funny lines in this scene, so don't be afraid to give me 40."
Yes.
And we'll pick the right one. We'll take care of you and make sure you look great. But a lot of it is if people feel like they have opportunities to experiment and try things, and we're not going to rush them off the stage, they do better work. And when we prep them, if you talk about the scene before you get there, if you rehearse it, or even if you're just on the phone, hey, here's what's happening tomorrow, I'm going to kind of ask you to do this, people relax. I think it's when you just throw things at them last minute that people get nervous.
So just a few weeks ago, I teach an argumentation class, and I screened
what?
Argumentation and persuasion.
What's that?
It's where we learn to debate.
Oh, cool.
Well, we screened the original 12 Angry Men, and then right around then, your sketch dropped. So I was like, hey, let's watch this. But I'd love to get the behind-the-scenes story on how you arrived at that sketch, because I think it's hilarious.
Sure. I've been talking to 2 male comics that I'm friends with, and they were deliberating on whether or not they thought Michelle Williams was hot, and they were both very disgusting, but like they're like, no, I don't even think she's hot. Like I wouldn't even fuck her. And I'm like looking at them like, you would die just to like get her a drink at a party. If she walked in here right now, you would like fall at her feet. So like, if she came in, like they'd be like, no, I'm good. So, but they were really deliberating, and I just was like, and that word was in my mind. I was just like, what's the ultimate deliberation? Is that movie? Just a jury, and I love that movie, and I had the idea to do it, and I was like so excited once I had that idea, and then one of the producers of the show, Kevin Kane, was like, "What if you made it the whole episode?" Because I wanted it to be like half the episode, and I was like, "Yes," and so I got permission. I lied and said like that I would be in it more, knowing I wouldn't. And and I wrote it. I sat there and I watched and I wrote all the shots I wanted and everything. And it was really hard and it got painful for a minute and then it was really liberating. But and my like the writers would have happily helped me, but I really don't want to hear their opinion of things I should be insecure about. Yeah. And then but I was like I want it to be a total recreation. They tried to be like we'll shoot at this courthouse. I was like, no, we have to build the set. It has to be the same. And like pick the shots we wanted to recreate. And I became somewhat of an aficionado of that movie. And
just the cast that you got to be in it.
That was so crazy that everybody said yes.
That's amazing.
That was really exciting.
So Jed, I had mentioned before you came into these guys that I really liked This Is 40. I'm a big fan. I relate to a lot of the struggles there. So my question is, will we get to revisit those characters again? Will that become a trilogy?
I have a good idea for another one, and I'm not sure. I have to see, what my 12-year-old thinks. She's the ultimate judge of whether or not anything happens. But maybe one day. I mean, I like revisiting characters. I mean, that's why it's fun to do TV, but it is fun to visit the same people 6 or 7 years, like
you're like making Boyhood, but with features.
You could do like This Is 50. This
exactly,
is
yeah. It's like and I always like spin-offs, like when everyone spins off a character, like Better Call Saul. Or, we did it with Get Him to the Greek after Forgetting Sarah Marshall. I love that. I feel like the whole Marvel universe is based on Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
They need to send you some checks. Yeah.
Well, Paul Rudd is Ant-Man now.
That's right. That's how that happened.
Who would you spin off from this movie?
Bridget Everett.
Cool.
Yeah. See what's happening with her and Tim Meadows.
I'd love to get a camera
what
on.
that family life is like.
Yeah.
How they're all getting along.
That was the hardest I think I laughed
Yeah.
on set was Tim Meadows and Bridget Everett.
And John would be fun to see.
It's hell.
Yes, and the whole and
everybody.
Yeah.
Maybe that's good.
You have a whole
It's
shared
good
universe.
sign.
The train wreck shared universe.
Yeah.
That would be great.
But see, I really would do that.
I know.
Like I would, if you said pick one. All right, it's Rachel's a nurse. Here we go.
Right.
Let's have her go home. I find all those people fascinating.
Yeah.
All right.
Very cool.
So that was pretty awesome. I have to say, you just got kind of, similar to maybe a year or so ago when I met Bill Hader and Kristen Wiig, you just kind of sit and laugh a lot while they riff off each other.
Yeah, sure.
That's what this was. So look for Trainwreck in theaters on the 17th of July. So that's this coming Friday, and of course you can look for my transcript of that conversation.
Cool.
All right, Brian. So let's talk up a lot of the headlines. Now, this past weekend was Comic-Con, so a lot of nerd-centric news to discuss.
Yeah, it's funny. I was telling because I work at the show Bob's Burgers. And we have a comic book, we have a television show, we're a presence at Comic-Con. And it was funny explaining to my parents and my brother who works in the business world why I got to leave. I got a half day. It was like a holiday on Friday. I got to leave work because of a comic book convention. So,
by the way,
I know you're in the right industry.
You mentioned the Bob's Burgers comic. I just want to point out to our listeners, Brian's issue is out. It's issue number 1. And he has the first story in that book. And I think this is a testament to my friendship with Brian, is that I was laughing immediately, of course. And then there's certain jokes where I was like, this is funny. And I kind of made a mental note And then when I texted Brian, hey, I just read the comic, and he said, hey, I really like this joke, and of course it's the mental note that I made of the joke that So I think that says something about how long we've known each other.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, they did 5 issues, I think about a year ago. So this is volume 2,
This is volume
issue
2.
1. And I have a story in here. There's a lot of other really talented artists, writers in this issue, and then in the next coming, there's like 14 up ahead. I'm in the next 3. So
there you go. So plenty of Brian's Bobs coming up.
Yeah, really proud to be involved with it. So
that's fantastic. So do check that out, and it's available digitally. I tend to read comics digitally now, and it's kind of my thing now.
Yeah.
That being said, very quickly before we get to some of this other stuff, I just wanted to make mention of the fact that Omar Sharif passed away.
Yeah.
Just a couple days ago. Another legend is gone, Omar Sharif, and Omar Sharif has of course he was in Lawrence of Arabia and Dr. Zhivago. He was the star, and for being a Muslim growing up, when you talk about Muslim actors, there's basically Omar Sharif, and that's it.
Sure.
So people are like, are you related to Omar Sharif? I'm like, yes, because all people with the same religion are related to each other. That's obviously how it works, right?
Yeah, small world.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So he was 83, and he was suffering from Alzheimer's actually at the time of his death, which is obviously that's a sad situation. And I think it's worth remembering him as just kind of another remnant from this bygone era of Hollywood, which is now moving further and further into the past. It feels like. I about 11 years ago, I interviewed Viggo Mortensen for Hidalgo, and he co-starred in that with Omar Sharif. And that's what I remember most is Viggo Mortensen just talking about. He said he's just what a gentleman he was.
Yeah.
So very cool guy, and it's a loss. It's a sad loss. Another loss, albeit maybe not as sad, is we were talking last time about Terminator Salvation, and I feel like we're sort of kicking the corpse at this point, so I'm almost hesitant to bring this up. But I feel like it is worth thinking about here. Terminator Genesis. What year is this? Sorry, I've already forgotten about the most recent one. Terminator Genesis is struggling at the domestic box office. It's gonna kick and scream mightily to get to 100 million domestic, which, I mean, they spent 155 million, so this is not good news.
Yeah.
So pretty big flop. Meanwhile, Jurassic World is looking like it's going to be the number 3 movie of all time.
Yeah.
Now, these are 2 beloved franchises from the past that were both resurrected. And so, Brian, this is my question to you. Why did T5 flop so catastrophically while Jurassic World has done so exceptionally?
Man, there's a lot of factors, I think. I think first and foremost, I mean, Jurassic World is a better film unto itself than Terminator is unto itself. I mean, just in terms of, I know a lot of people have had complaints about Jurassic World, and but I think
those people are communists.
Well, I feel like, they're not necessarily wrong, but those are nitpicks in an otherwise really enjoyable movie. I mean, even if you didn't like certain things about it, you definitely enjoyed the experience that you had at some point. You know what I mean? Whereas Terminator, I think, well, this is taking me to my next sort of thought, was actually, we're talking about Terminator 5 here, right?
Sure.
So we've already, been let down several times. We've already repeated the experience several times. This is feeling a little worn out. And I think with Jurassic Park, that's a movie that is still beloved to this day. Like you said, your children still love it. I still love it. You still love it. And it had its sequels that aren't remembered as well, but those are years and years and years in the past. So, what do people want to do? They want to go back to Jurassic Park, So this movie, I think, had actually the years separated working in its favor, where people were ready to be enthusiastic about Jurassic Park again. So I think that has a lot to do with it also. I mean, people are exhausted with the Terminator films and have been let down too many times. And with Jurassic World, everybody was ready to go back to this place. But also, you don't make that much money just with everyone showing up and then leaving. I mean, this is like repeat viewing. So obviously,
I've seen it 3 times already.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I want
to get to watch movies multiple times.
Yeah. Well, did you enjoy it each time?
I really did. I absolutely
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
So there you go. Repeatability.
That's
got that going for it,
that's
too.
the magic ingredient. Also, and maybe this goes without saying, but Jai Courtney is not Chris Pratt.
Touche. I mean, I'm seriously, and that's another thing to point out. I mean, Chris Pratt, even though I know in our circles we really love him, with Guardians of the Galaxy and just whatnot. But I mean, he's not Arnold Schwarzenegger, where the whole world necessarily knows who he is. Or
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting too. Even though it seems like Schwarzenegger can't capitalize on his Schwarzeneggerishness anymore, or as much as he used to. But it seems like Chris Pratt will be doing that.
Yeah.
Going forward.
I mean, it's kind of interesting because, we talked about this last time, how they're really going to rely on international to save the day. And I'm just like, we could conceivably see a scenario, and I don't think this will happen because it's not doing well, but where the movie, in order to justify a sequel, it would need to make probably 400 million worldwide.
Sure.
So I'd be very curious first of all, if it hits that benchmark, but second, if we end up with a sequel to a movie that didn't even make 100 million domestically.
Yeah, I mean, I can see if you're going to have that scenario, I could see this happening because it's a title that everybody knows.
Yeah,
I mean, everybody knows what a Terminator is. So I mean, I could see the possibility where they're like, okay, this didn't work out. It's pre-sold, and it's like, well, this didn't work because XYZ, but Terminator's a Terminator. Everybody knows this name. Let's try again. I could see that possibly happening.
Hey, they will not stop.
I don't know.
It is the Terminator.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of franchises, now obviously, Universal's had a pretty fantastic year between Furious 7 and 50 Shades of Grey, and Minions is like cleaning up right now. The one sequel of theirs that kind of swept under the rug and didn't really get any play. In fact, we forgot to talk about it on this show is Ted 2.
Yeah.
Did you see Ted 2?
I did. Did you see it?
I did see Ted 2.
Yeah.
So what's the story here? Is there a story here? The fact that Ted 2 just kind of died on the vine?
I think there's a big story because look at the highest grossing comedy of all time. Well, I believe was The Hangover, right?
Yeah,
at one point. And so that completely makes sense. I mean, that is a movie that still people will reference and be able to understand what you're talking about with that movie. So then they come out with a sequel, Hangover 2, which wasn't as good, but it did enormous numbers because of the goodwill based on The Hangover. So the movie to usurp The Hangover as the highest grossing comedy of all time is Ted 1.
Yeah.
Which we've always said we find somewhat baffling because nobody talks about that movie. Like nobody quotes that movie. I mean, when it's on HBO, I'll watch it for like 5 minutes until the next thing I'm looking for starts. You know what I mean? And it's no slam against the movie. I do think it's amusing. It's fun. But like it didn't have that impact that it seems like a lot of other popular films do. So, you got the highest grossing comedy of all time coming out with a sequel, and then it just completely underperforms. I mean, that's really interesting. I think it has to do with the fact that Ted 1 was basically like the scraps of a Family Guy episode. You know what I mean? Like, and that's, you wouldn't even believe me, but I don't even mean that in a bad way per se. Because when I tune into Family Guy on TBS, like 10 o'clock on a Tuesday night, it's because I just want to sit and laugh for a little bit and not have to think, and then I can leave whenever I want, or I could tune in whenever I want. Because they just do joke, throw everything at the wall, see what sticks. And I think that's what Ted had going on, which kind of worked because it's amusing to watch this foul-mouthed teddy bear and all these like sort of jokes. But at the same time, there's not a real thread or anything to really grab onto with that character or that story, right? It's just jokes. So if they're doing it again, it's not necessarily like, oh, I got to see what's going on in this universe. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be a more grab bag of 90 minutes of jokes. And that's basically what the movie was.
What did you think of the sequel? I
found it okay. I thought it should have had more jokes in it, to be honest with you. I mean, did you find that? I for a comedy, especially from Seth MacFarlane, which again, I mean, he is like a joke a second, just waiting for one to stick. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But I just thought there were like stretches of this movie where I was waiting for the jokes.
Well, it's interesting because the entire the climax involves Morgan Freeman the plot of the film is this even considered a spoiler? I don't know. I mean,
No.
so Ted is trying to prove in court that he's a person, right?
Right.
And so they go to Morgan Freeman. He's a famous attorney, and he says, "I can't take your case." And then at the end, he decides, "Okay, I'm going to take your case." And then he does like a Morgan Freeman-esque argument in front of the court, and then he wins, and that's the end of the movie, right?
Right.
And I was like, why not turn that on its ear? Why not have the Morgan Freeman-esque argument not work?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it felt very uncreative in that sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
And I mean, and that when you say that's the plot, I mean, that's like, just the thing that they go back to whenever they need,
Right.
a story, because it's really just an excuse for jokes. And that's my whole point. Like, I think I would have enjoyed it more if there had even been more jokes. I mean,
Sure.
the movie is totally like pleased with itself to go on some sort of random tangent that has nothing to do with anything, just for the sake of getting a laugh. And again, I'm totally cool with that. I just wish they'd done more of it.
We needed more laughs.
More laughs, yeah. And except they did have a planes, trains, and automobiles joke that had me laughing pretty hard.
There you go.
Yeah.
There's one.
Yeah. so not terrible, but like I'd watch it on cable.
But that's kind of the problem. Is even box office wise, it's not like an outright disaster. It's just kind of it's got to be. I mean, if you're Universal, you got to be disappointed.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I would be really curious what they're saying, what their thoughts are on why it didn't work.
Because this would be 2 disappointments in a row for Seth MacFarlane.
Yeah, and I would say for the same reasons, actually. That's how I felt about A Million Ways to Die in the West. Was not a bad movie. I didn't dislike it, but I wanted more out of it. Like when I go see a Judd Apatow movie, for instance, those movies are like a joke a minute.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like they can feel a little, what's the word? Like shticky. You know what I mean? Like when people are talking, they're kind of doing shtick.
Speaking of shticky, what did you think of when they're in the sperm clinic?
I actually did laugh at that quite a bit.
That was pretty gross, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's nice one.
Thank you.
No, but yeah, but that's what I like about Judd Apatow movies. I know I'm going to get a lot of jokes.
Sure.
And so that's kind of what I'm hoping out of Seth MacFarlane movies. And I don't know. I just felt like the last 2 haven't delivered as many jokes as I expected.
Well, and I mean, just to put the success of the first film in perspective, I mean, it was made for about $50 million. It made $550 million worldwide.
Wow.
Right? So I mean, this one cost more, and it's made substantially less because so it cost $85 million. So far, it's made about $125 million.
Wow.
Now, granted, it still needs to open in other parts of the world and stuff, but I mean, it's probably going to top out at maybe $300 million.
Yeah, I mean, at this point,
that's probably pushing it. So it's substantially less than the first one. So I don't know. I don't think we're going to get a Ted trilogy, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, now Seth MacFarlane obviously took so many of his cues, at least on Family Guy, from The Simpsons, and we spent a lot of time talking about The Simpsons on this show because, as anyone listening knows, it's one of our great loves. Now we talked a little while ago about how Harry Shearer, who is basically a third of the character cast on this show, was leaving. He'd had enough.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we can announce now the crisis is over. DEFCON 1, we can come down from that because Harry Shearer has decided to not leave The Simpsons.
All right.
Yeah. Now, the interesting thing about this is it's not like he got a raise or anything like that. He accepted the same deal he rejected before.
Yeah. Because, I mean, you would be a freaking idiot not to. Quoth Brian. $26 million.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. So like Brian said, this is a deal $300,000 plus per episode for 4 years.
Yeah.
So in other words, right now they're in the 26th season. So this would take them through potentially a 30th season. So 300,000 plus per episode. That's 22 episodes a year over the course of 4 years. And as we've said before, the recording process on The Simpsons is not exactly arduous.
Right. You can record anywhere in the world.
You can record naked.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
I would.
So I'm wondering what, like, because he was like, no, I'm done. And then they're like, come on. And he's like, okay.
Come on.
Yeah. I mean, I'm wondering like what, because you have to wonder if part of him is like, oh man, I've made such a statement by saying no. How can I just go back? The ego factor.
Right.
So you wonder like what they said to him that was like, dude, come back.
I don't know. I don't watch anymore, so whatever.
See, again, I wish I was like you, Brian. I poke my head in every now and then just to see what's going on. It's actually interesting because when all this news broke, James L. Brooks was on Twitter, and this is what he said. He said, "Hey, we tried. We're still trying. Harry, let's talk." So that was like the last we heard, and the next thing we know, he's coming back. So
interesting.
Maybe James L. Brooks, he's still got a little bit of pull when it comes to that.
Yeah, I'll say this real quick as long as we're on the topic. I was having a conversation with someone, a friend this week, and we were talking about The Simpsons, and, she was saying, we agreed, the first 10 seasons-ish where, it's prime and whatever. And I thought of something I never thought of before, and it made me feel a little bit bad about the way that I've ragged on The Simpsons, in year 11 on or whatever. And it was like, think of it this way. The Beatles, right? So they're the Beatles from like 62, 3 through 70, and they make some of the greatest rock and roll music of all time.
Sure.
Right? And it influences everything. It influences music, culture, people, whatever, and other artists. But then what if you were to lose, 2 of the Beatles? Like, well, they wouldn't be the same band. You bring in 2 different guys, it'd be something different. And then you lose all 4. All the people that made the Beatles are gone, but you still carry on the Beatle mantle with 4 different guys. Like, how could you possibly expect it to be the same thing as Sgt. Pepper's? Like, that's impossible. And that's what's happening with The Simpsons. Like, what made those years genius and what we love about that show was a set of people, and those people are all gone. But it still has the name The Simpsons. So it's like you can't expect it to be the same thing. So you kind of almost have to judge it against itself as it is right now, and you can't really judge it versus what it was, in say 1997 or something. So that doesn't mean that I have to like it, you know what I mean? Because I don't know that it necessarily speaks to me anymore, but it's literally not the same thing. So
good point.
Yeah. Those are the kinds of conversations I have at bars at 10 at night.
Well, that's why you're you, Brian.
I guess so.
Yeah. Well, I think it's weird, right? Because the longer something is around, the more you get used to it being a certain way. And like you're alluding to, right? Change is very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going through something similar with every picture I'm seeing of the rebooted Ghostbusters movie from Paul Feig.
Sure.
Have you been seeing these pictures?
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So we've got Kristen Wiig, Melissa McCarthy, Kate McKinnon, Leslie Jones are the new Ghostbusters. This is the all female cast of Ghostbusters, and I have these very mixed feelings when I look at these, and it's not. I feel like I have to say this. Everybody who's critical immediately has to say this. I'm not trying to sound misogynistic.
Right.
I just want to be very clear about that, because the truth is, objectively, it will probably be hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, it would be very difficult to not laugh a few times with a cast like that.
Yeah.
But here's my problem, Brian. I just don't want this movie to exist.
I hear you.
I mean, it's weird. Like, every time I see a picture, it's not even like, some people are like, oh, it looks stupid or whatever. I'm not even feeling that. I'm just like, I want the Ghostbusters to be what they've always been, and for no one to ever touch them.
Yeah, see, this is it's hard for me to entirely understand, because we've talked about this before. I didn't really grow up with Ghostbusters. I saw it maybe once when I was a kid, and I've seen it, several times since, and I like it. I like Ghostbusters, but I don't have the same lifelong experience with it as you do. So
because you are a communist.
Yes. Well, sure. I don't know.
That's my theme for this episode. I don't know.
Yeah. So think of it this way. Like, if they were to, this is how I see it. I always feel like I sound like that Fred Armisen character on the SNL news who keeps changing.
Here's what I think.
Yeah. It's sort of 2 birds flying in from the west. No, but with Ghostbusters, to me, it's like, okay, those movies exist. That is Ghostbusters. They're going to try to make something different. It'll either catch on or it won't. It's not ever going to replace Ghostbusters. When people show their kids Ghostbusters, they're going to show their kids the Bill Murray one. So it's just sort of this weird offshoot thing that they're trying to do. But compare it to me as if they were remaking Back to the Future.
Sure, perfect example.
Yeah. I mean, like, is it as offensive to you? Because to me, it's like, no. Like, you can't do that.
Okay, now this is interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. What are your thoughts? Like, talk that out for me. How that feels.
Well, I think
for
it's
you.
exactly. I mean, to me, it's exactly the same because I think both of these franchises have a similar play. You know what? Yeah, I see. I'm doing the Fred Armisen thing now. I just
Right.
Karate Kid.
There you go.
Was a good example.
Okay.
And that's where I was proven wrong because I went in and I was like, why would you remake? Why Karate Kid is amazing, but the remake is pretty good.
Sure.
It's not as good, but it's good.
Mm-hmm.
I think what I likened it to is like a really good cover of a song that you already like.
Sure.
So there is precedent for a remake to be a decent thing, you know. But I put Ghostbusters and Back to the Future in the same box where I'm like, I don't want anyone else to ever play Marty McFly, nor do I want a version of this without Marty McFly.
Right. Yeah.
See?
There you go. Yeah. Sure.
So this is yes, I don't want a new Peter Venkman, but I also don't want Peter Venkman doesn't exist.
Right.
It's
Well,
Petra
okay,
Venkman
so what
or
if
whatever.
this was what I thought they should have done? I still think they should have done is why not make it in a world where Ghostbusters already exist?
That's the thing because Paul Feig said in his interview, he was like, it's easier to do the origin story.
Well,
and
it
I was
could
like,
still be an origin story in a world where Ghostbusters already exist.
well, beyond that, I was like, yeah, it's easier because they did it already.
Right. Right.
Right. And
Yeah.
it's weird because Paul Feig is not a hack.
No,
He's
not by any
the
stretch.
real deal. So it's his presence alone is enough for me to be like, well, I mean, I'm not going to just dismiss this out of hand. But again, it's like I have mixed feelings.
Yeah.
Because I don't like seeing my Ghostbusters being basically, you know, they're being memory hold.
Yeah.
You know.
So I don't know. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
You know, they should be glorified. They should be glory hold, Brian. Wait.
Well, I will leave that to you.
I don't think that's the right usage of that phrase, but regardless. So that's what I'm dealing with. Now, people deal with change in different ways. Obviously, I think what I'm going through with Ghostbusters, a lot of people went through when they heard Ben Affleck had been cast as Batman.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? Isn't it fun hindsight?
Well, how did you feel when Affleck was cast? I think you were okay with it, right?
I was like, we'll see. But I did feel like there's a lot of Affleckisms that I was worried would hinder it a little bit.
Afflectations, if you will.
Sure. I'd take that.
I want to say, you know, from the beginning, I was like, you know what? I am down with Ben Affleck as Batman. I had no problem with that. But people still are like, I don't know, Zachy. I'm getting a lot of that. Like random people, I don't know, Zachy. I don't know about this.
You're like, hey, guy, I'm just trying to order my coffee. You know,
Yeah,
right?
I know who you are, and I don't know what you don't know, but I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I have to say, I am pretty excited, and I was more excited when I heard the news last week that Ben Affleck is going to write and direct a Batman solo movie.
Yeah. Which again is kind of interesting because we've spoken to this, but we're starting with Batman / Bruce Wayne being
Scooby?
older and grizzled, right? Like this
Right.
isn't an origin story. Like this is him years down the road, grizzled.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, right? I mean, this is going to be an old Batman story.
Older.
Yeah, older. No, old. Period.
Ancient.
Yeah.
They're going to use old age makeup.
Yeah.
Well, what is he, in his 40s now? Late 40s?
Yeah, but I mean, they're like gray in his hair. I think they're making him play older.
They're aging him up a little bit.
Yeah.
I have to be honest. Now we've gone back and forth about Batman v Superman. We'll talk about the trailer in just a second. But I would say certainly before this past weekend, the energy level as far as the team up movie wasn't necessarily through the roof. I heard the news that Affleck was directing and writing a Batman movie. I was like, I'm more excited for this than the fight movie.
I'm looking forward to both of them, to be honest with you. I guess I don't know if we want to get into this yet, but I have to say the Batman v Superman trailer did a lot for me to understand
the new trailer.
Yes, the new trailer.
But this is what I'm saying. The news that he was going to direct a spin-off or a solo movie broke before the trailer.
Yes.
So before I saw the trailer,
I see.
This got me more excited than that.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I feel like when it was first announced this Batman v Superman thing, I just didn't have a handle on what they were trying to do, and I only pictured the worst tendencies of Zack Snyder, and it just kind of had me a little under-enthused. But now, the more that I read about it, the more that I see about it, I'm starting to get it a little more, and I am excited about a new Batman movie, and especially a Batman movie that seems like it's going to be different than anything we've seen before. So, like, I'm looking forward to a new interpretation on Batman for sure. But I'm kind of interested to see Batman and Superman square off and what that looks like, and have a larger scope of the DC universe. Wonder Woman, all these other people thrown in. I'm curious what that looks like. So,
well, okay. What if, Brian? What if Ben Affleck's only pretending to direct a Batman movie in order to get hostages out of Iran?
I would not put that past him. That guy did the same thing a couple years ago and won an Oscar for it.
It worked once. I can't take credit for that, by the way. That's from @Samuel Adams on Twitter. So
yeah, it was really funny.
I thought it was a funny comment. But let's talk about the trailer for Batman v Superman. This dropped over the weekend at Comic-Con, and people collectively orgasmed based on the reaction on the internet.
I was wondering why that happened to me. It was really weird. I was out in the middle of nowhere, and it just happened because it was a collection. And I was like, what the? And I went online and saw the trailer. I was like, oh, right.
Oh.
Why would I be out in public knowing this was coming out right now?
It's all coming. No pun intended, right? All right, let's play some of the audio from that.
People hate what they don't understand. Be their hero, Clark. Be their angel. Be their monument. Be anything they need you to be. Or be none of it. You don't know this world a thing. You never did.
20 years in Gotham, how many good guys are left? How many stayed that way? He has the power to wipe out the entire human race. And we have to destroy him.
Okay, so we talked about the teaser trailer a couple months ago.
Yeah.
And neither of us was really feeling it.
No.
So why did this one kind of turn the dial?
I felt like the first one was very gloomy and just felt like, check it out, man. Like, come see this super serious, dark movie, man. You know what I mean? Like, it just felt like way too heavy-handed. And without enough context to support its heavy-handedness. It just felt like overkill. That's what it felt like to me. It felt like gloominess overkill. And with this one, I just feel like I have a better setup or representation of what this world is going to be or what this movie is going to be. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, now I understand, this is what it looks like when Superman destroys a city. This is how people react. And this is what Batman's like. And this is his Alfred. And there are these other people. Like, it looks like a story now. So, like, this I can get behind. Well, actually, that's kind of interesting, isn't it? Because that's how we feel about movies, whether we like them or not. Like, when you and I go see a movie that doesn't have a good story and it just style over substance, we tend to not like it. Yeah. Right. And so, like, the first introduction to this movie was style over substance. And it was just like, well, okay, it's a lot of style, but I don't have anything here to grab onto emotionally. And now this trailer, I thought, did a better job of being like, oh, well, that's a story I'd like to see.
Well, and I think first of all, our first introduction to Bruce Wayne is terrific. Where we see him essentially in a 9/11 situation where he's running into the wreckage as these buildings are falling down, and that's clearly that's the during the midst of the climax of Man of Steel.
Right.
And I like the idea that there's, and actually, I wonder if this was Zack Snyder's plan all along, because I think he's doing a little bit of like, oh yeah, we always meant to do this. I wonder if the story for this film is a reaction to the reaction to Man of Steel.
I wonder that. I could see it being kind of thought out, because that ending is kind of overkill, destroying that city. So I could see that being part of a grand plan. He obviously had to bite his tongue for quite a while as people, rip that apart. But
well, that's what I'm wondering is I feel like, I don't know, I think about that, but regardless, our introduction to him, I think, is fantastic, because he's like the best Bruce Wayne we've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
He just looks like the character out of the comics,
Totally. Yeah.
And then we have the narration, the voiceover from Martha Kent, and all the, Martha Kent is telling Superman, she's like, actually her voiceover I kind of had a problem with, because she's basically like, Clark, be there for them, help them, inspire them, be who they need you to be, or don't, whatever.
Right. Yeah.
I was like, I'm getting mixed signals, Ma. But I like the fact that we see Amy Adams, we see Lawrence Fishburne, we see enough to situate this as a sequel to Man of Steel.
Yep.
I appreciated that. Now, let's talk about Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. The guy was a question mark when he was cast. I'm curious what you think of him now that you've seen him in action. He's playing Beck Luthor, basically.
Yeah. I'm open to it. Because it's clearly a reinterpretation of the character. Yeah. And that's when you look back at just different decades. Sure. The people we look at as heroes, the people we look at as villains are representative of their time.
Sure.
And right now our potential villains are these like sort of tech people. You know what I mean? Like these kids that start companies and they're, sort of nerdy and whatnot. And so I think this is just a representation of the time we're living in, where a Lex Luthor type probably wouldn't be some square-jawed, larger than life kind of person. It'd be this sort of smart Weasley kind of guy, who's a billionaire.
Yeah.
And so I get it. Whether or not it works remains to be seen. But yeah.
What do you think of Affleck in the suit in action?
Looks pretty cool, actually. Yeah. I think he looks hulking, actually. I mean, he looks humongous in that suit.
Yeah. It's interesting that he's actually taller than Henry Cavill. So we actually have a Batman who towers over Superman.
Right.
Which, if that's not a metaphor for how Warner Brothers looks at Batman compared to Superman.
Yeah.
But while we talk about heroes and villains, obviously this is another trailer that dropped not during Comic-Con, but in the aftermath of Comic-Con. Actually, and this is what we're talking about. Now there was the big Batman v Superman panel, and then Warner Brothers put the trailer out right away.
Yep.
Same time. Now they also, during the same panel, had the Suicide Squad cast and director, who's David Ayer, come up, and they screened a special Comic-Con assembly just for the people who were there in Hall H, who spent like 4 days camping out. It's insanity, by the way. Is this even remotely worth it, Brian?
Not in my personal opinion, but I understand people who enjoy the thrill of the moment.
I don't. They're crazy. Go home, have a life.
I know you don't want me to go off about this too long, but it is interesting that there is something about being in the room with a bunch of people who care about something as much as you and seeing something for the first time. Like, I get that. But at the same time, like you were just saying, I mean, the Batman v Superman trailer happened, and then 3 minutes later, I was watching it in HD on my laptop.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to endure, like you said, 2 or 3 nights on concrete.
BO, Brian, BO.
Sure.
There's lots of comic book fan BO.
Yeah. It's
but
true.
Regardless, so there was a Suicide Squad trailer that dropped.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let me rephrase. It was played during Comic-Con, and some dildo took out his smartphone and filmed it.
Okay. Wow, dildo. So you have an opinion on this practice.
I do, and I do because I'm of two minds on this. I feel like because so he films it, and it's this crappy, it looks like the Blair Witch Project or something, and it drops online, right? And so now, of course, everybody's leaping to watch that, and some sites are even linking to it. I don't do that on my blog. I will only link to the official one. And so initially, earlier today, Warner Brothers was like, well, tough. What can we do? Our plan is to drop it, a trailer, a different trailer in 2 weeks or whatever it was. And then finally, they reversed course within a few hours, and they're like, fine, here it is. Here's what everybody saw.
Yeah.
And the reason they did that was because it was essentially presenting a damaged vision of this very expensive movie.
Right.
Right. So in other words, it took the narrative out of the hands of not the studio, because I could give two craps about that, but the director, because the director didn't want that.
Right.
And that's why this is
actually, I'd say the marketing didn't want that, if I really had to guess.
Okay.
I'm sure the director didn't, because he's got his own opinions, but like the movie looks as good today as it's going to look in 3 weeks. But marketing is so strategic. I mean, they know exactly when they want you to see what this character looks like and da-da-da-da-da, because they got to build some sort of anticipation that's based on a metric, that they paid some guy to figure out. Like, they have a formula, and this busted their formula.
Okay. So you're in, so you're, I mean, well, what's your take on this?
Well, I did think it was interesting because this happens every freaking year. I mean, last year it was funny. I was in Oklahoma visiting my parents, and while Comic-Con was going on, and I saw that the Batman versus Superman first look had happened. Right. And I told my parents had a Roku, and I said, "Watch this." I'm like, "Watch this." There are people who slept out for 2 nights to see what I'm going to show you right now, and I had no idea if it was there. But I just went on YouTube. I put Batman v Superman Comic-Con. And sure enough, I pulled up the trailer. It was a shoddy little cam thing. Yeah. So I think it's almost like you got to expect it. You know what I mean? If you screen something in a room with a lot of people, especially with 6,000 plus people, it's gonna end up on a camera phone. It's going to happen. So I thought a lot of people were really smart about it by putting out the HD version of it, like for instance, the Star Wars behind the scenes trailer thing. Immediately following, right? I think that's the way to go because that's the world we're living in. That said, does that suck? You know what I mean? For the people who show up at that place and they're the faithful and the diehards and they endured this, sort of experience to be a part of something unique. I mean, does it take that away from them? Yeah. I mean, I guess so, but like, I don't know. I'm just kind of the mind, like, yeah, well, that's where we're at. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's a good point.
And not that it's fair or that it's right, but that's just kind of how it is. Yeah. So I found it interesting. I thought it was interesting that they did release the Batman v Superman trailer, but they didn't release the Suicide Squad trailer. And I have to admit, I did watch the bad camera version of it, and my tune immediately changed on that movie.
From bad to good or good to bad?
Yeah, from like kind of bad and uncertain to like, whoa, I'm really looking forward to that.
Okay, well, let's talk about that trailer here. Let's play some of the audio.
Sure.
I want to assemble a task force of the most dangerous people on the planet who I think can do some good.
They're bad guys.
Exactly. And if anything goes wrong, we blame them. We have built-in deniability.
What makes you think you can control them?
Because getting people to act against their own self-interest is what I do for a living.
Okay, so what about this trailer turned the dial for you?
I know it's going to sound really simple, but like it looked like a movie. You know what I mean? Like that
Very
didn't
good,
look
Brian.
like. No, but I mean, a lot of the other stuff.
No, the pictures look like a syndicated TV show.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Or just, I don't know. I didn't know what I was looking at. I thought I was looking at something kind of grimy and sort of whatever. And so the similar sort of feelings I was having toward, again, the first gloominess of the DC stuff I was seeing. But this looked like a film. Like this looks like a movie for adults about some bad guys. They're going to be get drawn into this sort of situation, and some of them are going to probably redeem themselves, and some of them are just going to stick evil the whole time. Yeah, like I was like, that is a movie. I want to go see that.
What do you think of Jared Leto as the Joker?
I'm still not crazy about the tattoos. I really can't. What's that?
The grill in his mouth.
It actually looked kind of cool, if I gotta be honest. In the trailer, well, I wouldn't say cool, but it worked. Let's say that. Sure, it worked. And he's got, what's that stupid thing he has on his forehead? Damaged.
Damaged, yeah.
Tattoo on his forehead. I swear. I mean, I can't look at that the whole movie. That's
It's like a little on the nose, right?
so stupid. But I don't know. Maybe it'll work. But anyway, in the trailer, I was like, yikes. Like, he's freaking frightening. So I'm looking forward to a new take on the Joker. I'm looking forward to what looks like I don't know. I almost felt old school, like Dirty Dozen.
Sure.
Kind of a picture or something. And like,
well, it's we've said this before. David Ayers is the director, and he's got a great utility with ensembles.
Sure. Yeah.
He did Fury. He did Sabotage, which I liked.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely, a big cast seems to be something. And he's definitely trying to do something a little bit different. This is, what it is. This is DC's stab at Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they're totally different movies, but they're trying to, do a universe movie that's not bright and shiny the way the same way Guardians of the Galaxy mixed things up a little bit.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's really got me interested. So I'm really curious.
So to that dildo who leaked the video, thank you.
Yeah. Nice work, dildo.
All right. So
wait. We didn't hear your opinion.
Oh no. Well, I would say I can't remember what I said before, but I'm cautious cautious in a good way, like cautiously optimistic, because of David Ayer and because of the cast, Jai Courtney notwithstanding.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I do think it's interesting. This is the very first time we're seeing Harley Quinn in live action. That's never happened before.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's odd how that character has become sexualized to a very weird degree.
Sure.
Because I don't know what that says about just sort of people's predilection for weird infantilized women, but it's a separate conversation. But excuse me, I'm waiting for Batman v Superman, I think, for me to figure out what to think of this universe.
Sure.
Because if I like that one, I will probably be more enthused about Suicide Squad and vice versa.
Yeah. There's like a really cool, it's funny, I'm always drawn to like the really like snippet moments of these trailers, like in Star Wars Force Awakens, that one real quick shot of the TIE fighter shooting at the hangar. That was my absolute favorite part of the whole trailer. In this one, there's a shot where like it looks like I'm assuming a villain like has like a shotgun or something like that, but he's wearing a Batman mask.
Yeah,
I saw that. Yeah, and it's like it doesn't look like Ben Affleck's Batman, but like a cartoon version of the Batman. So you imagine in that world, he's become some sort of commodity kind of a thing. And I just love the idea of that. I don't know. That got me going like, all right.
It's like, let's, well, you know what, Brian, I think you hit on it, right? Because I think at this point, we need to know whether this is a universe we want to live in.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
If we like the universe, we'll want to, next week we're going to be talking about Ant-Man.
Yeah.
You're going to watch Ant-Man, regardless of how you feel about the movie going in, you're kind of like, well, I like this universe.
Good point. Yep.
Right. So I think it's going to be kind of the same thing with this,
Yeah, but this looks like dark as hell. Like,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like I can only imagine
but
it's going to
dark,
be
but not dour.
Well, not dour. I don't even mean that in a bad way, but I just feel like it looks so inappropriate for kids. You know what I mean? Just the sort of like the menace of it just feels like sort of like a weird sort of thing. You know what I mean? I guess
I mean that's kind of my concern with these DC movies in general is that like with the Marvel Studios movies, I know I can take my kids.
Yeah.
Like I mean literally, like if it has the Marvel Studios name on it, I feel pretty comfortable taking my boys.
Sure.
I don't even know if I can take my boys to Batman versus Superman. Forget Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
That's a non-starter anyway. But even Batman versus Superman, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. Which is kind of interesting because I mean, Batman is probably the number one most popular, whatever, like kids and whatever. Like you just assume if a Batman movie comes out, kids are going to want to go see it.
They are
like little kids, so it's. I don't know. I guess I can be selfish because I don't have kids, and I'm like, well, whatever. Yeah. I just want the best Batman movie.
That's okay. I'm selfish, and I do have kids. So now a lot of this conversation actually dovetails with a conversation that we will be having soon about Deadpool.
Sure.
There was also a trailer for that played over the weekend. There was an illegal version of it dropped, but since there's no legit version of it, we'll save that conversation for another episode. But I have a feeling there's a lot of overlap between our comments about Suicide Squad and probably Deadpool.
Right.
That being said, Star Wars news. Lots of Star Wars news, Brian.
Yeah.
Hit me. What do we got?
Well, they had the panel, the big Star Wars panel at Comic-Con, and what was maybe a little discouraging before it happened was the fact that they weren't going to show new footage. There wasn't going to be a new trailer, no scenes, anything like that. So it was sort of like, oh, well, what's the point of this? Yeah. And I think I just got home from work or something as it was happening. And so I just put on some like live feed, and it was just thing after thing of like interesting stuff. I mean, they pulled out all the stops. They brought the new cast, they brought the old cast, they brought Harrison Ford, who wasn't even there at Star Wars Celebration.
Yeah.
They had Harrison Ford like all but admitting just that maybe there was a time when he wasn't high on the Han Solo character, but like he looks back on it fondly now and he's loved coming back to it, again, which is what everybody wants to hear. No one wants to imagine how grumpy Harrison Ford was as we're watching Han Solo on screen. And so that I thought that was itself was a big get.
It was a moment.
Yeah. And what they did was instead of showing a trailer, they showed a 3-minute behind the scenes sort of sizzle reel.
Yeah.
And man, damn if it didn't work. Like that thing got me. What'd you think of that?
I think that the combination of hearing Mark Hamill talk about it, coupled with the snippets of footage, plus of course the music.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That was such an effective video. It was just as good as another trailer for me, honestly.
I mean, I consider that in essence a trailer. It's because people were having the same reaction all across the internet, where it was just kind of like, wow, I'm so jazzed for this. And we didn't learn a damn thing about the movie.
No, but isn't that
great? Yeah, we learned a lot.
Yeah, like we just want to continually be assured we're going to feel a certain way with this. That movie did that in spades, and it didn't ruin a single thing.
Yeah,
so we're just further assured. That's what this video did. So, and then I thought what was kind of cool was they led everybody out of Hall H into outdoor. They had the San Diego Symphony Orchestra play a bunch of selections from the Star Wars. I don't know what you call it. I was gonna say trilogy. We don't call it that anymore. All 6 films. Yeah, saga. And it just seemed like a heck of a panel, like totally worth coming out for. So that was kind of fun to follow online. And actually I periscoped the concert, and so it was kind of fun watching that at home.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, they're definitely, Disney's doing a lot right as far as marketing the new film.
Yeah. But then we had a lot of interesting other news. Found out that Phil Lord and Chris Miller, they of Lego Movie, 21 Jump Street, fame, are going to be directing a spin-off Star Wars film about Han Solo.
Yeah.
So, they're going to recast Han Solo.
So this leads me to further believe that Han Solo does not make it out of this next movie.
Because you don't think they'll have him concurrently played at different ages?
I have nothing to base this on. Here, a couple of things. Here's where I don't even know if this constitutes a spoiler because it's just rampant speculation on my part. I think that Harrison Ford is speaking so wistfully because he's said goodbye to this character.
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
Damn it, Zeki.
Well, I mean, you know what I mean?
Sure. No, I think that makes sense. Sure.
Like I don't imagine a scenario where Harrison Ford is enthused about playing Han Solo now forever, even though he hated it, 5 years ago,
Right.
So I feel like they gave him the finale that he wanted, and that's why he's able to view it this way,
Yeah, that very well could be. I don't know. And then everyone loves the character so much, and they will continue him.
Right.
In the younger Han Solo Chronicles or whatever.
That's my point. Is that what he's about? What, like mid-30s when we first meet him?
Mm-hmm.
So that means we've got, let's say, from the time he's in his 20s to his mid-30s, that can be filled in.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a lot of adventures as him as a smuggler. So
yeah, him and Chewie, we get right. So potentially this is like the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Now I've been seeing I've posted about this on Facebook. I was like, all right, well, who would you cast? And people were shouting out all kinds of names of various people. Some seriously, some not. But this one guy who I'm sure you've heard of by now, his name is Anthony Ingruber.
Yeah.
And this is amazing. This is an amazing story. In 2008, he uploads this video onto YouTube of him basically doing a Harrison Ford impression. That was 7 years ago. This year, he's in Age of Adeline, which is a movie that starred Blake Lively, and he plays the younger version of the character later played by Harrison Ford.
Right.
And I'm like, if this guy is not at or near the top of the list,
Yeah.
I mean, he'd be great, I think.
Yeah. Oh, he does a really good job. Yeah. I'd be, like you said, I'd be surprised if he isn't being strongly considered right now.
Yeah. Now there's also other news. Who are they talking about to direct episode 9 potentially?
Well, okay, so we got JJ doing 7. We got Ryan Johnson doing 8. And Ryan Johnson is writing 9, but directing Star Wars episode 9 is
potentially
Colin Trevorrow.
Yeah.
He of Jurassic World directorial duties.
So I heard that and I was like, I'm totally down.
Yeah. I think, if there's anything to be nitpicky about Jurassic World, I feel it's the writing. And I don't even mean it to sound like a dick, but like some of it I thought could have been rounded out a little bit better, but it was still totally enjoyable. But as far as the direction, like I thought he did a really great job. Feels, like old school in all the best ways possible, whereas he actually knows how to capture a scene.
Right.
Which is weird that has to be a compliment on someone these days.
Right.
But yeah, no, I get it. So you feel the same way?
I think that Kathleen Kennedy is very smart about how she's running Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
I think she's assembled this brain trust where at this point, now granted, this is maybe a lot of trust given that the first movie hasn't even come out, but certainly everything we've seen up to now shows that, Lucas handed it to the exact right person.
Right.
So
she's had years and years and years of being around producing the best films ever made.
Isn't it amazing? So, when you look at her story of how she started, and it's just amazing.
Yeah.
Because she was like a PA basically.
Yeah.
In the early days, and then it's just when you look at that journey to being emperor of the Star Wars universe,
right?
It's what a journey. But any other Star Wars news?
That's all I had.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm currently I'm working my way through the Clone Wars cartoon with my boys because we watched episode 2. And they were like, oh, let's watch episode 3. And I was like, hey, why don't we watch all of Clone Wars first?
Ah, interesting.
And I've said this before on the show, but really watch the Clone Wars cartoon, not just you, Brian, but those of you in the audience who the prequel era is kind of sucky and whatever. But I would argue that the Clone Wars show almost redeems those movies.
Yeah. I've heard that.
Really good.
Yeah.
And I think it'll make Anakin's fall that much more tragic when we get to see him through 120 some episodes as an actual hero.
Sure. Yeah, fill in the stuff that the movies didn't really fill in. So
they really didn't, So I'm watching a couple episodes a week with the boys, and I figure by the time we get, I'm timing it so that basically we'll be done with the movies right before the new one comes out.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
So, well, that basically brings us to the end of our time, Brian. Now we did not have a spoiler wall for this episode, but as I said up top, we do have Ant-Man coming up next week, and I'm sure there's going to be lots of stuff to talk about, not only about that movie, but just in general. There will be lots of new headlines.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's funny. I had a friend visiting in town, and he works, in the investing world. He follows movies just like your regular Joe, right? And so we're in the car driving, and he goes, and he sees if there's a big, Jurassic World, he's going to go see Jurassic World, or whatever. He's not going to see some of the other smaller movies we go watch. So he goes, he sees this poster, and he goes, Ant-Man. He goes, what? He's like, is that where we're at now? Like, are we out? Are we out of stuff like Ant-Man? He goes, have you heard of this? And I was like, yeah. I'm like, dude, that's a Marvel movie. And he goes, what? And I was like, Marvel, like Iron Man, you like all those movies, Avengers? He goes, yeah. I'm like, well, that's in the same universe. And it just like hit me. It's like you sort of take for granted the friends that you have. And not only that, but living in the city that I live in, entertainment capital of the world. Like you just assume everyone kind of has a cursory knowledge of all this stuff. But like he's your average Joe and he is not convinced. So I was like, that's really interesting. I wonder, they got to do a good job. Well, and I think they've tried, Marvel, I'm speaking of, with their posters, linking it to the other Marvel films, because the poster is little Ant-Man on top of Thor's hammer or on Iron Man's shoulder, or like they're making sure that he is tied in with these other movies that you love. Yeah. So it'll be really interesting how A, what we think of it, but B, how if it catches on.
Yeah. Well, I'm seeing it tomorrow night. I'm assuming you're seeing it at sometime this weekend.
Yeah, Sunday.
So we'll be back a week from today. We will be back to talk about this. So it'll be our shortest gap between episodes.
Yeah.
So new uncharted territory for the movie film show.
Yeah.
But as we wrap things up, Brian, where are you online if people want to reach out to you?
Well, you can find me at everythingbrian.blogspot.com, Brian with an I. I have a Twitter handle I don't use called @everythingbrian. And you can find me in issue 1 of volume 2 of the Bob's Burgers comic book.
So please do, folks, check it out. It's very funny. You do not have to have been watching the show to laugh. It'll probably help.
Yeah,
but it's
familiar with the characters.
But it's funny regardless. So do check that out. Yeah. And as far as for me, you can find me at Zackie'sCorner.com and as well as on Twitter at Zackie's Corner. I'm also on Facebook, and so are we. The Movie Film Podcast is on Facebook, so please do hit up our Facebook page. You can also email us, moviefilmpodcast@gmail.com. Also, I do this every episode, but I'd really like to ask that you hit up iTunes and Stitcher Radio, where we can find our show, and leave us a star rating, leave a review, let us know how we're doing. Because your feedback is what keeps us alive. Literally, it's the only thing keeping Brian alive.
Help!
Yeah, he's like E.T., where your love is what keeps.
And the more stars we get, like the flower next to me, like reblooms.
It's true.
So
it's true. So be aware of that, folks. You're killing Brian. Is that what you want? But on that note, Brian is still alive for now, so we're very happy about that. And he will be here next week along with me. My name is Zackie Hassan. This is the Movie Film Podcast. We will see you next week. Thanks for listening.
Welcome